Get ready, Staten Island.
The Ferry Hawks are back at SIUH Community Park July 7th to the 12th for a 6-game series against the High Point Rockers. Wednesday, July 8th with first pitch at 6:30. It's Woo Wednesday in collaboration with the Wu-Tang Clan. The Ferry Hawks transform into the Shaolin Hawks. Thursday, July 9th, first pitch is at 6:30. It's Thirsty Thursday with $5 Bud and Bud Light drafts.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats. The Rita Cosby Show
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, boy, things are heating up once again in the Middle East. We're just getting word in the last little bit that in southern Iran, the United States is hitting air defenses, missile launch sites, and also ports. This is in response, of course, to Iran that was recently targeting a whole bunch of commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. A very big deal. They are obviously violating the ceasefire left and right. And President Trump has had it. He said he has had enough. And President Trump saying that, you know what, if there's violence, it'll be met with violence. And he said there is always going to be continued payback. He will not let Iran continue this mischief. And it also comes as some disturbing details, and we'll get to this in a little bit later in the show here on the Rita Cosby Show. An American over there, this is during the time, of course, of Our America 250, and during the time where they were honoring the Ayatollah, who, thank goodness, is no longer with us because he was taken out by a strike, remember, on the first day of this war recently. And so the big funeral took place. And guess who was there? There were a few Americans essentially saying down with America. So I call that downright treasonous. How shocking. They would go to a country like Iran that we're clearly at war with during the time of the funeral and shout death to America, essentially down with America, the end of America, bashing Trump. That's disgusting. It is horrible. And there should be some action. How could you ever allow them to, first of all, get into the country? And second of all, who do they think they are bashing America at a time like this? If they like it so much, maybe they should have stayed in Iran. And let's see how they enjoyed their time with the IRGC and the mullahs there. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. But first, new action heating up in the Middle East as, again, as we speak, the United States pounding more targets in southern Iran. Again, payback for them doing strikes on vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Already, some of the oil prices went up. You could see people across the globe are concerned again, feeling like there can't be safe passage of ships, that maybe some Iranian, an errant one, even if it is, that gets through, a missile or drone. They say this is a major, major concern, and President Trump knows it better than anybody. And just a little bit ago, before the new action happened, take a listen to what President Trump said, because he said, you know what? Yeah, we'll still go after them. We could really bury them. I would prefer not to. I still would prefer to have peace. My goodness, he is bending over backwards for peace. And these people, they are zealots.
Look, we're going to win one way or the other. We're either going to make a deal or we're going to finish the job, okay? And it won't be tough to finish the job. I'd rather make a deal because I don't want to affect 91 million people. We can knock down their bridges in 1 hour. We can knock out their energy supply, all of those big plants that they built, big, beautiful, modern plants. They had a lot of money. They don't have any money now. We haven't given them any money. But we can knock out their electricity and power generating plants, and I would say a small part of an afternoon, every plant will be gone. And they know that.
Breaking news.
And tonight, more and more Democrats are coming out and saying something that we all knew all along, that Graham Platner should step down and leave the race. There are reports tonight that there are other Democrats within Maine who are filing papers, getting ready should this moment happen and should they be able to actually fill in and fill the void. But right now, Graham Platner hasn't gone anywhere. And there are a couple reports tonight. You got to hear the cojones of this guy. He's saying, according to reports, his team is denying it, but his team is saying that this isn't true. He's just kind of trying to look at a whole bunch of different things in the race and reflect right now. That's the official message. But the unofficial message is that privately behind the scenes, he is trying to put pressure on the Democratic Party to make sure whoever replaces him on the ballot, because remember, he won the Democratic primary there in Maine, that it has to be some extreme crazy candidate like him. That, can you imagine? He's like trying to set parameters. He's lucky if he ever lives in the state of Maine or lives in America after this. Can you imagine? Oh, you're the guy with the Nazi tattoo. Or you're the one who mocked veterans. Or you're the ones who mocked gays. You're the one who mocked cops. And he's now trying to be like the power broker behind the scenes. Again, his team says this isn't true. But that is the official word coming from a number of multiple reports out there, saying that he's not sure if he's going to leave or not. He hasn't decided yet. But if he does, he wants to determine who his, quote, successor is, as if he has any say. Sadly, he does have a bit of say, because unless he voluntarily leaves the race, he's not going anywhere. They can't push him off. And the fact that they're trying to now somehow have a moral compass, it is way too little, way too late. But Zoran Mandani, there he is. He finally is speaking out. You know, when you've lost Zoran Mandani and Abdul El Sayed, that's the guy from Michigan, the other crazy Muslim guy in Michigan. Now they're finally speaking out and saying, well, you can't have somebody like this on the ticket. Where have they been all this time? But they're finally on the bandwagon. And also Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, of course, has been a big supporter of Graham Platner. And Bernie Sanders came out and said, I talked to Graham and I think he should step down. Now, he's not saying any response whatsoever from Graham Platner, but Bernie Sanders is clearly saying that he no longer has his support. And that's a big deal, because that's the guy who has been really backing him all along. Him and Ro Khanna have been the two like most disgraceful supporters of, indeed, Graham Platner. And here's the comment from Bernie Sanders. Of course, he didn't say it on camera, but here's what he put in a written statement. I have spoken with Graham Platner about the best path forward for Maine, and in light of these very serious allegations, I have recommended that he step aside. A real profile in courage, Bernie Sanders, after all of these other things that have come out. Way too little, way too late. And here is Zoran Mandani. Listen to this one. Here's what he had to say.
Given that you have a sort of ascendant role in the Democratic Party, could you talk about the Maine Senate race? Do you think that Graham Platner should drop out of the race? And do you have any intention of endorsing any candidates in competitive races outside of New York, El Sayed, or anyone else?
No, I believe that it's time for him to drop out of the race. And when it comes to my own endorsements, I've made 8 endorsements at the state and federal level. They've all been right here in New York City. I'm incredibly excited at the fact that they won their races, and that's where my focus is for now. You know, I think the focus of today should be to respond to the gravity of what so many of us have read, and I think that the only appropriate response is for the campaign to come to an end.
Wow, a real profile in courage. But Zoran Mandani speaking out, adding to the chorus. And of course, everybody's talking about it. The big question is also, should he be charged? Because it looks like under Maine law, there is a 6-year statute of limitations. The last woman who says the rape allegations, again, if they can be proven, that's in 2021. That's within the statute of limitations. But it has to happen pretty soon. But that is within the statute of limitations. So, boy, this could get very interesting very quickly. And here is Abdul El Sayed, who also hangs around with Hassan Piker. remember, who said America deserves 9/11. And now he's trying to act like he's a profile in courage.
I said that voters definitely deserve a choice that doesn't force them to pick between.
So should he drop out of the race?
I think he should. He needs to step aside. I made the statement specifically to say that he should step aside. And let me say that clearly. I think he should step aside.
I think we got it, that he should step aside. Let's play that again, because that sounded like a robot. Here it is.
I said that voters definitely deserve a choice that doesn't force them to pick between.
So should he drop out of the race?
I think he should. He needs to step aside. I made the statement specifically to say that he should step aside. And let me say that clearly. I think he should step aside.
And what do you think? Should he step aside? I think that's pretty obvious. And yet now they all clearly have their marching orders saying, okay, we got to move on. This is looking really bad. He's now also kind of losing in the polls. So it's okay to dump him now. But when it looked like he was doing better in the polls, he's our man. Remember? That's what Elizabeth Warren said. He's my kind of man. Somebody who is accused of assault and now rape. And tonight, you got to hear this. This is Lindsay Fifield. She was on CNN, and this is the woman. She is a conservative. She dated Graham Platner. She says he held her against her will, that he bruised her on her shoulder. He twisted her arm behind her back. She definitely accused him of some pretty violent behavior. And she said she wanted to speak out now because when she first came out, she said it essentially got buried, she believes, and twisted by the New York Times. That the New York Times essentially made it like, oh, it's a conservative vendetta against beautiful, wonderful, sweet Graham Platner. And so here is Lindsay Fifield, because now this other woman, as we know, we played her last night, Jenny Rassicot, came out. And now Lindsay Fifield came out to Jake Tapper, same host, same network, CNN. And she said, I wanted to come out because I was really inspired by what Jenny Rassicot said and felt I, too, needed the courage. Take a listen.
You already knew Jenny's story.
Yes.
But what was your reaction to her telling her story yesterday?
I was so proud of her. I was so proud of her, and I know how hard this has been for her, but I also know that she deserved that vindication. She deserved to come out and actually tell her full story, because the way that it was told before, or the parts that were left out before, had left her vulnerable to a lot of attacks that she did not deserve. And she should have been protected the whole time. It's unfortunate that she had to tell her story this way, that she should have never had to come out with her name and her face. She should have been able to tell the story anonymously, in my opinion. But I'm proud of her for doing it. And I didn't know until the story came out that she had said that I was, an inspiration, or one of the reasons that she decided to tell her story. I really didn't know that that was the case until I read it in Politico, and it means a lot that she's blowing her life up. I blew my life up, and I think she saw that happen to me, and she saw the attacks that I faced. How do you thank someone for something like that? She took a lot of courage, and she didn't have to ever talk about this, and I think I'm very grateful that she did.
And this other Platner accuser who spoke tonight, this is Lindsay Fifield. She also said, I can't believe because I'm a conservative, the Democrats trashed her right away, said, oh, this is all politics. They really politicized what should never have been a politicized maneuver. And you got to hear what she had to say. She really felt hurt that her allegations didn't go anywhere, and that it took other women to come forward for the media to even say, maybe this is kind of one bad dude. Take a listen.
She said one of the reasons that she came forward was because, so more than a month ago, the New York Times published a story about you and about Jenny and about another woman, and neither of you told everything.
Right.
There were things that had happened that neither of you wanted to be on the record saying.
Right.
Very private, personal things.
Yeah.
There was a lot in the story about how you are a conservative Republican.
Right.
After the CNN.com story, after the Politico story, after the CNN interview, lots of Democrats withdrew their endorsements. Senator Gallego, Ro Khanna, Senator Elizabeth Warren, all came out and said, no, he needs to drop out, or I'm withdrawing my endorsement. What did you think of that?
As much as I'm grateful and I'm glad, and I hope that finally this was enough finally. There is also that feeling of pain of like, but my accusations weren't enough, like our story. And again, I never thought that I was going to be the lone voice in that story. I really thought that mine was going to be the lesser of the stories, that mine was going to be like not a footnote, but like my story was meant to bolster the other stories that were being told. And then
Jenny's story is rape.
Yes, and I had believed until the publication that was going to be like the central focus of the piece. And so it blindsided me, but I think the biggest betrayal after that piece came out was feeling like I had been, they wouldn't even use the word abuse. A lot of people just kept saying, oh, mistreatment, or, no one was describing.
It was domestic violence.
And it was intimate partner violence, and it was domestic abuse. And those are words that I've never felt comfortable. I've never really talked about myself I've never called myself a victim. I don't like using that kind of language.
We'll take your calls when we come back. These are shocking allegations. And now you have two women saying their names, coming forward, a repeated pattern, and still Graham Platner is on the ballot and now trying to call the shots behind the scenes. What is going on with the Democratic Party? Are they that pathetic? They were willing to take someone now accused of rape and all these other things. And it's only because of the new polls that they're trying to maybe find another way. They're trying to swallow the situation. How's that? 1-800-848-9222. And we'll take your calls when we come back here on The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Make this summer unforgettable driving in a Mercedes-Benz from Mercedes-Benz of Edison. Join me Friday, July 10th at 12 noon, where I will be hosting my show live from Mercedes-Benz of Edison. I'm excited to see my friend and GM Doug Wells and the entire staff. Mercedes-Benz of Edison is committed to making your shopping experience stress-free. That's one reason they were named the 2026 Mercedes-Benz Dealer of the Year by Cars.com. Visit Mercedes-Benz of Edison and meet me, Greg Kelly. See you soon.
The Rita Cosby Show.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, it's going to be a long week for Democrats in Maine, that is for sure. And so much is at stake. They got to win probably Maine and flip the seat against Susan Collins to somehow get the Senate. So there's so much at play here. Let's go to Phil in Delaware, line 3. Go ahead, Phil. Your thoughts tonight.
Good evening, Rita.
Good evening. Go ahead.
My thought on it is that Graham is such a nasty, hateful, divisive person that he'll probably stay in just to get back at those that did not support him in the end.
You know, it's interesting, Phil. Stick with us, actually, because you're bringing up a very interesting point. I got to go to a break, and I want to continue with you afterwards. I wondered that, too. This guy, I use the phrase cojones, because this guy doesn't seem to have any rules and seems to want maybe a little payback.
The Rita Cosby Show.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Jefferson, New Hampshire, where state police received a call regarding a missing woman. Her husband reported to authorities she had gone for a walk on trails near the property with her dog, and the dog returned without her. So her husband then searched and finally called police desperately for help. So canine assets from state police and Fish and Game were requested and immediately deployed to assist. Thankfully, a canine located the woman in the woods, not too far from the residence, but they found her immobile and verbally unresponsive. She was placed on a stretcher, carried from the woods, and then transported to a local hospital for treatment of an unknown medical condition. Very scary situation, but thankful to be alive due to our great men and women in blue. And Phil in Delaware, I'm going to get to your call and everybody else's in just a few moments. The number to call here on The Rita Cosby Show, 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. As I mentioned, you got this crazy guy. His name is Jackson Hinkle. He's a social media influencer, apparently a very popular one. And he describes himself, or people describe him, I think it is, as a MAGA communist. So he's right, he's far right, he's far left, he's this, he's that. But he is someone who went over to Iran, and apparently today he posted, Iran is a righteous nation, something to that effect. What? And then he goes over to Tehran, and he's at a rally in Tehran. I want to know how that happened. And to me, this is really, really shocking. This guy gets on the stage before a big crowd of Iranians, and listen to what he shouts about America in Tehran as we are at war with this terrorist regime.
Down with USA! USA! Down with USA! USA! Down with USA! USA!
He needs a better chant, but it's pretty shocking that you would have American at this time going over there. Of course, Iran loves it. They'll play that clip all day long, saying, look, America, even America doesn't want this war. They'll pretend like every single American citizen is with this guy. Back to the Graham Platner story, everybody, because everyone's wondering, what is he going to do? And here's a little bit more from accuser Lindsay Fifield. This is the first woman who came forward. The one who came forward yesterday is sort of the second official one to come forward. 3 of them were mentioned in the New York Times report. And Lindsay Fifield, a conservative, was mentioned quite a bit in that report. She's the one who said that he twisted her arm. He locked her in her room, wouldn't let her leave. He often left marks on her shoulders and elsewhere. Pretty scary stuff. So listen to what she says he said after nights of drunken stupor. It sounds a lot like the other woman. I'm seeing a pattern here. And yet this woman also says he wasn't so drunk because he did apologize. Listen to this.
One of the first that came out about Graham Platner was that he had a Totenkopf, an SS tattoo on his chest. Mm-hmm. And he denied knowing that that's what it was.
Right.
And that's not true.
No.
Because he called it that when you guys were dating.
Yeah. I never knew what that word was. I didn't even know how to spell it correctly when I said he's got a Nazi tattoo. I had to look it up on the ADF website, and I had no idea what it was. And I had no photographic evidence of it. So for the first 2 months after, like from that, everyone talks about the text from August, we were looking for pictures. We were going back through, trying to find old pictures. So if I'm fabricating this story, I'm doing it without even having a photo of this tattoo that I like. That's the crazy part that I think people are missing.
Let's go back to June to the New York Times story. He just flatly denied anything physical. Yeah. He said he was a bad boyfriend, but he flatly denied anything physical and said anything, and this did seem aimed at you.
Yeah.
Anything to the contrary was politically motivated.
Yeah.
And he said that on MS Now, and that seemed,
well, it worked.
Well, you're right. It did seem to have worked. The Democratic Party just kind of moved on.
Yeah, it's just politically motivated, and then that's it. Like everybody just kind of moved on from the story after that. I mean, he apologized sober the next day on many of these occasions. So it wasn't with me. And so when he yes, I know there were times when he was blackout drunk that he would say, "Oh, I don't remember that," but then days later, he would come back and details would slip out and he'd say, well, that was before or something. And I'd catch him in a lie and it would be like, wait, so you do remember, you weren't blackout drunk. But on rare occasions when he'd be, the next day, very apologetic, very contrite, not, oh, I don't remember doing that, but I'm sorry if I did that. It was, I remember doing that and I'm sorry. It was not I was in a blackout drunk situation.
He acknowledged that he did it, knew that he did it and apologized.
Yes.
Sober. When he was sober.
Yes.
That's pretty telling. First of all, blackout drunk isn't good, but he clearly wasn't so blacked out that he didn't remember. He just kind of used that as an excuse. I mean, this guy's like a con man, according to these women, all the way around. And then Lindsay Fifield, who came out again, this is just a few hours ago, this interview that you're hearing, she did on CNN. She's coming forward because she said she really was scared when she saw that he was doing well and thought this guy should never be in Capitol Hill. Take a listen to why she said she is coming out and speaking out yet again, because she wants people to know who this guy really is.
This is a very painful process and has been for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Continues to be. But it's important because you want the voters to know about him. What do you want them to know?
I think they know now. They needed to know the truth. They needed to know, because these things translate. It's not like the things that he does in private in his relationships with women, the things that he has done to women, coercive control, lying, deception, abuse, and really horrible things that we know about him. We know that you can't be that way in private and not have it translate into how you would govern or how you would, when you're put in a position of power. And I think it terrifies me to think of him having any type of power politically, because what is he going to do with the women in his office? How is he going to manipulate? How is he going to deceive? When I saw him lying about the Nazi tattoo, that was the first kind of chip in my armor where I was like, I can't let him continue to lie like this.
So she said, I am speaking out, and I need to make sure that people know that this guy is a lying SOB. Now, most Democrats, you heard even Mondani and Abdul al-Sayed and those guys, they're coming forward, as you heard, and saying that he should step aside. Obviously, they're seeing the polls, too, and they're saying that there's probably a lot worse stuff. This is probably the tip of the iceberg. There's probably so much other stuff out there. But here is, you got to hear this. This is former Congresswoman Elaine Luria, Democrat of Virginia. She's one of the few people who today is still saying this is just all one big distraction. Listen to this.
I'm singularly focused on this district, the message of what's important to people here in Virginia's 2nd congressional district. And they're always going to try to find a boogeyman and tie, the Democrat to whatever shiny new thing is going to scare people. But the truth is I have a proven record in Congress, and I'm focused on listening to, supporting, and then representing those people across this district.
So what? That everything about Graham Platner is just one big distraction, right? That's all it is. It's just a little bit of a problem. What about the women? And I applaud John Fetterman and others who are coming forward saying that the women deserve an apology from people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who said, he's my kind of man. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to Phil in Delaware. Phil, thank you for your patience on line 3. You brought up a great point before we went to break a little bit ago, where you said that you believe that maybe he won't go away. Tell me a little bit more why you think that way.
Well, I think, just like they say about spots, you never change your spots. So just like his past girlfriend said, it was repetitive, similar behavior. So whether it's hitting, punching, lying, it doesn't matter. He'll just do whatever he's been conditioned to do and what he's been doing all along. Nothing different. Nothing will change.
Now, do you think the deadline is next Tuesday? All right, the deadline is Tuesday, July 13th. So are you essentially saying that that maybe Tuesday comes and goes and he doesn't drop out? Or do you think he's going to try to cut the best deal he can, saying, I'll drop out if you give me X deal or if you give me X job? And then also did you hear these reports too, Phil, also that apparently he is trying to essentially decide who gets to replace him, that he wants it to be somebody as crazy and like-minded as him. I guess that means anti-Semitic, anti-police, anti-gay, anti-this. It has to be a real rabid radical. And then maybe he'll feel okay that person pursues his agenda. And then he's going to pretend like, I stepped aside for the good of my party, even though the allegations he's going to say are all wrong. But I just stepped aside to do the noble thing. So what do you think is going on behind the scenes now?
Oh, it's interesting. You brought up a couple of great points. My honest opinion, I think he's a scared, insecure man that has to beat up on women. So if I had to make a bet, I'd say he's going to weasel some kind of deal and just take the blame away from reality and from all of the other defenders of his actions. It's just unimaginable that the people, the Democrats, the socialists, I don't care who it is, that would follow suit with such a man like that, and then to try and honestly believe they could backpedal when they definitively said, we support this man, he's repented, he's a changed man, and he didn't know anything about what that tattoo represented, which we all know is a lie. But how do you think people can believe that?
Right. You can't believe anything he says. I mean, I agree. Like, as soon as the whole, Nazi thing, and he's like, I didn't know it was a Nazi tattoo. I mean, I called hogwash on that one. And that was at the very beginning. And then it got worse and worse and worse. And I think they know that there's other people out there. I mean, this guy's behavior, he seems like he was acting so fancy and loose. There's going to be, I mean, who's to say there's not he says he was sure, remember the women that he was speaking to on this, the app, that were sexting with these strangers. Mm-hmm. He claims, Phil, that for sure he knows that they were adults. Well, how does he know they were adults? Does he know them? Did he ask for their ID? I'm sure he didn't do any of those things. And so I bet you there may be some very serious, obviously the rape allegation, I think, is still within the statute of limitations. So he could be facing, that's a crime. That's a very serious charge if it could be proven. And then you also have, maybe, who knows? Maybe there's some younger, Fetterman even said this early on. He doesn't believe, if you're on these sort of apps with, young girls that are, different ages, young ages, who's to say that he wasn't, sexting with minors, knowingly sexting with minors? I bet you there's some really bad things out there. This guy just seems like he cannot handle himself. Like you just said, he's a very small man who thinks that he's a big guy and he has to control women and others. And so I have a feeling there's a lot of these things out there, don't you? This to me is just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, it's interesting again that you brought that question up. The Democrats, Mondami, Kona, all them were asked, don't you think there's other things that are going to come out in the coming months? And they even took the time to brush it away. So I believe you and all the others that say, if it was not for the fact that his polling was dropping, they would stick with him even after the rape allegations. How sick is that? And they're allowed to stay in office. They're not deported. I put on all my posts, I would have them all arrested, given fair time in court, and if found
who would you like to have arrested? I'm confused.
I would love, besides him, I would love to have the other on just basically anti-American. When you swear on the Bible, you swear to uphold the law and protect and defend America. But when you have a Quran on top of the Bible, or maybe not even a Bible, that's treasonous. I don't care what you say. And treason holds a much higher penalty. And that's what I think all of the squad especially, but now all the new additions to the socialist group.
Yeah, and what about Chevalier, who said that she washed her hands with the American flag? And then what about this guy? The guy who I mentioned was over there in Iran saying down with the USA, chanting at a rally. How is that not treasonous? Phil, there are a lot of questions tonight about loyalties to America. And I agree with you. For starters, let's see what happens with Graham Platner, because if it turns out that the rape allegations are true, and if they decide to go forward with charges, That's something. And again, maybe underage. Who knows what else is out there? Who knows what else he did when he, quote, blacked out, even though it sounds like he didn't really black out, according to the woman. It sounds like he can't even keep his story straight on that. 1-800-848-9222. Phil, thanks for the call. And everybody will continue with your calls after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, so much happening with Iran and so much happening with Graham Platner. Also, wait till you hear the defense for the illegal immigrant who killed the Loyola University student Sheridan Gorman. Basically, he's mentally incapable, so we should all feel sorry for him. And his defense even brought up that he needs to go see a dentist. Somehow, the fact that maybe he has a cavity shouldn't have anything to do with why he's also an accused killer. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Tom in New Jersey on line 1. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
I got a few points. I have a few points about this Jenny rape situation.
Yep, this is the Jenny Rass. I just want to tell everybody, this is the woman who is accusing Platner of rape. She dated him for some time. Go ahead.
All right. I'll tell you, to begin with, she is completely devoid of common sense.
What do you mean?
So I'm gonna give you the facts in chronological order.
All
Number
right,
one,
give me the facts as you see them.
No, not as I see him, as I heard him on the interview. She says that she was on her couch getting ready for bed. Number two, she says no.
Right. So what's the problem?
She knows he's on. No, so
right.
Excuse me, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
She knows he is on
Excuse
the
me,
prowl,
I'm the host, but go ahead.
The most important thing is she says, "Oh, because of the area I live in, I don't lock my door." So she leaves her door unlocked. She took no precautions, and on top of it, she sounds like a stupid, ignorant teenage Valley girl, the way she sounds.
All right. So, all right, Tom, hold on. All right. Hold your horses, cowboy. All right. First off, you got to be kidding me. You actually said because her door was unlocked. There are a lot of people in different places in America, and especially if you live in rural Maine, who feel okay with their doors unlocked. You think that that's a sign? What? And the fact she slept on her couch, not her bed, you have a problem? I guess anybody who sleeps on the couch ever, there's something wrong with them. And what's the problem with her saying no? What she's supposed to say, here's a taser in your spine? Did she leave that out for you, Tom? Are you kidding me? Go ahead.
No. The thing is, she said she was getting ready for bed. She said no. She knew he was on the prowl, and she left her door unlocked. Leaving the door unlocked.
Oh, so what? She deserved it, Tom? Tom, you got to do me a favor. Stick around, because you got me fired up. We're going to continue in the next hour. Please stick with us, because I got a lot of splaining to do with you. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Anyone can sell electronics. At Electronics Expo, they do more than sell products. They design, install, and support complete technology solutions. From home theaters and whole home audio to lighting, shades, automation, networking, security cameras, and premium entertainment systems. For over 22 years, they've helped thousands of homeowners experience technology at its very best. See the difference for yourself. Visit their Wayne or Paramus stores in New Jersey or shop now at electronicsexpo.com.